What is up, internets? It is animation time, animation time. We're gonna play with the Spiderman Rig, animation time. That's right, we're trying out another new rig today over by the folks over at Creative Crash. I'll throw a link in the information below. Never used this rig before, don't know hardly anything about it. So we might come into some fun little hiccups here or things we got to work out, but I thought that would be a fun thing to try out for today's animation. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Again, if you're new to the channel, you can check out the last couple weeks of videos, and that is a little more on a breakdown of the 12 principles of animation. And I think I'll probably go into more daily animation tips at the beginning of the videos as well. But for now, I like this, trying out these different rigs and seeing what we can get out of them. That adds a fun new challenging element on top of just doing a live animation every day. Now we're adding the element of using different rigs that I've never used before, and I think that'll be fun. Okay, so we're just setting up a scene here. This is the rig. I'm going to go ahead and just hit the 5 key and turn off the extra texture pack that it had on there, just so it's a little more lightweight. And I'm going to set IK on that hand. And let's see, is this going to be the main unit? I think it is. Actually, let's see if there's a base unit that we can use. Okay, that's going to be better. And gotta have him doing something crazy, right? Spider-Man. We're gonna have him be upside down. Make sure that's enough. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day and an awesome weekend. Enjoying your, is it Memorial Day, I believe? Lower those, just setting up with our initial pose. Gotta get a good Spider-Man pose going right at the beginning. I'm guessing these are the 3 back controllers. Let's see how those work. Rotate that, bring it forward. Again, I haven't ever used this rig, so we're gonna probably come into contact with some funky stuff. But that's okay. Get these arms so that they are planted firmly on the ground if we can. And just add that to a new layer here. We'll turn that off. There we go. That's the foot controller we need. Okay, so we probably need to raise that up just a little bit, just a titch. You don't want any space in between them, but I think that's fine. Okay. We're going to bring this hand in here. These elbows look kind of wonky, but you know what? That's okay. We'll just go with it. We got trying to keep it at within an hour-long animation. So we gotta kind of go with what we got. And trying out these new rigs, I think, adds an extra level of difficulty and fun. Let's see. Now what is that different than spine? That's a spine. And what's this? It's just like a shoulders then, I guess. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see. We got like a ball roll here, a foot roll. What do we got? There we go. We got a foot roll there. And let's go ahead and put a little bit of foot roll on the other one. Because that's more of a Spider-Man-y pose there. Rotate the hand a little more in this see so we can get. Should we do Spider-Man? Spider-Man. I think he uses his fingers, so maybe we'll try and keep that on the fingers. Remember the key pose, the first starting pose is really important. That's one of your main storytelling poses. So we really want to get a good pose going on there. I don't like how this looks, though. It looks funky at the wrists. It looks really bubbly, but that's kind of what the rig is, so we gotta go with that. It just looks a little funky to me. They don't have any spreads or anything on. Oh yeah, they do. They just have them different. Oh, and they have twists down there. Okay, it's kind of weird. I would think they would be in under each finger rather than different controllers. So that's a little bit different than I'm used to, but that's okay. Pinky. Let's put this pinky spread in. Nice little separation and grouping of the fingers there. Let's get this hand set up for everything. Thumb still looks a little awkward, so let's go back in and see if we can get a better thumb there. See, but they put the thumb spread and twist over there for that, but rather the fingered ones are down there. Kind of a different design choice. Overall, it's a pretty cool looking rig, at least in the T-pose it was, so I hope that there's not too much deformation like you can already see here. Just gonna get in some of these posing, we're already getting some intersections and stuff, and that's not gonna be exactly what I want, but that's okay. Gotta go with the limitations of what the rig lets you do as well. Hope you guys liked, if you didn't see yesterday, I did one trying out a like Minecraft creeper rig. I think that rig just didn't have as many controls as I would have liked. It was kind of hard to get in and really get some good, exciting, interesting posing. Where this one seems to have a lot more opportunity to get some exciting posing in. It'll be interesting to see, like I was saying before, how much deformation and how much we might have to pull back some of these poses and everything and keep them more or less exciting than. Okay, can we do some arm twist? We can. I don't know if I want to do that just yet, but that's nice that we can do that. Okay, so I think now one thing I don't like is I want to pull that one back a little more. We want to have a little bit of space in there, not a ton, because we do like a separation, and I think I'll pull this in a little bit more, this out a little bit more, and I think we'll push his hips up more. Ooh, that's kind of funky. The legs do that. I guess that means we could bring the feet back a little bit more then. Is there a knee twist here, a knee pivot? No? What about a leg twist? Oh, there is. Okay. I don't want to select both of them there, but there is one. So we want to just put the legs back in. And let's grab the other foot and put the leg twist back in. And we'll go ahead and pull it back a little, pull that forward a little. We just want to have a little bit of space there so we get some pretty good silhouette. So grab this foot. I don't really like the way that the foot controller is, with it being flat on the ground. That's a little difficult to manipulate, but that's okay. We'll put a little more foot roll on that one. And we have him up and forward a little bit more. We'll go back in and do some more leg twist there. It's a pretty good Spider-Man-y pose. I don't mean Spider-Man-y like that. That sounds weird. But like Spider-Man-esque, I think is what I want to do. I feel like this hand isn't splayed out enough. So let's take that pinky spread and we'll move it out and up a little bit. We'll do the same with the ring spread. We'll pull it out and down. So we want to feel like those tips are on the wall, like they're sticky tips. Sticky tips, the name of my junior high, let's see, Screamo band? I don't know. That's a fairly good band name, Sticky Tips. Okay, let's see. See, go in there. Looks alright. It's just these bubbly, almost balloon-like arms that look a little funky. Okay, so let's save off what we're doing. We'll just save this as Spider Walk. Okay. And we'll go ahead and set a key on there. And now let's start animating. Got our main frame here working. Make sure we're still recording. Yep. Okay. So since this is almost like a quadruped style walk, we're gonna take that and that, set them there, and then raise them forward at 12. And we're also going to raise the body forward at 12. And again, we're going to have to go in and tweak with these legs and do the leg rotates because we're going to get some weird stuff there. I'm not going to worry about raising them up too much on the passing position just yet. We'll go back in and do that. Just getting the foundation stuff. You really want your foundation of your walk to work first before you really worry about too much of the nuances and extra details. And go ahead and push that stuff forward there. Let's see. And there's about that much distance there, which means this one could go forward more. Try to keep the distance between the feet somewhat even. Not completely, but at least not so that there's like stutter steps or anything in between there. Which means I'm going to have to pull the hips forward a little more there. Then we'll take this, so we have a 12, and that means we're going to have to move that forward more. Ooh, look at that leg deform, that's no good. So we definitely want to pull it down. I'm not going to worry too much about that stuff, like I said. That's going to be detail stuff. We want to get the main hips and steps and movement working before we get into all the details like knee pops or leg twists or any of that stuff. Just looks a little funky at this stage, but we want to keep focused on getting in there and getting all the key information we need down. Okay. I'm going to move that forward a little bit more though, because we don't want those to intersect like we have at 24. That's no good. So we want to take we're just going to go back and set that. And we're going to want to push this hand forward a little bit more. Okay, so let's just see how that looks. That's that first move. Again, we are going to have to go back into the legs. That's going to be a... if I'm forcing things that are going to come up, I try to do this while I'm setting up my workflow. So I can make a mental note to leave myself time for that, and also to be aware that as I'm going through, the knees are going to be a little bit different, and we're probably going to come across some extra intersection and deformation in the arms a little bit, it looks like, through this area and that area, so we got to be aware of that. And probably in the chest when we get in there and do some squash and stretch, that might have some problems as well. Also, that head pose, I feel like that could be stronger. It looks a little too much stretch on the neck. So, and like I always try to remember to do myself and to remind you guys to do if you're animating as well, is to get up and do the reference yourself. Again, in this case, I can't really scale a wall in this regard, but you do have to have some form of reference of what you're doing, so you can crawl on the ground and then try and take that and apply it to your movement for what you got. I do find sometimes I end up trailing off a little bit when I'm talking, because then I get thinking about what I'm doing when I'm animating, and that's something I know I need to work on, but that's why I like doing these videos every day. It helps me as well to be able to have a good train of thought and be able to really articulate what I'm doing while I'm doing it. I think that's a good skill to have as an animator, so that way you have a larger vocabulary. So if someone's commenting on your shot or making notes on your shot, if you're getting notes from an instructor or from a manager or a lead or a director, that they can, when they give you a note, you can interpret it in the right way as well. And that means that they might not be able to articulate exactly in animation terms what they want, but that you can get a general idea and be able to deliver that quickly, so you can see if that idea is working or not. Ooh. I didn't want to. Okay. But yeah, being able to, with art or any creative thing, being able to describe what you're doing, and not that you need to use words, but being able to use words, especially in a medium like this where a lot of it is, there aren't a lot of solo animators that put out stuff. Most stuff is going to be studio work. There's some like small freelance projects and everything, but being able to, and especially in that way as well, being able to quantifiably define what you want and define what the other person, even though they might not be able to use the right terms or words, wants, is going to help you in the long run. Okay, so let's just go ahead and see if that's working overall for everything. Okay, it's real basic for what we got for the movement, and we got this total leg thing going on here. Let's watch it again now. I think this is too close to there. It feels like it almost is either purposefully not hitting or feels like it's hitting, but it's a little jerky there, so we want to make sure we leave a little more space there and there as well. So that means that we're going to have to raise that forward a little bit more, and then we'll duplicate that key and put it to 12, so there's a little space in there, and then we're going to have to raise that forward a little bit more. But we got to be careful, because with this rig there's not a lot of stretch we can really get into the arm, at least that I can see yet, so it's something we got to be careful of, so that we can make sure that we're keeping the key poses that we want. I'm just going to save off the work for what we got right now, and now let's go ahead and add some up and down on those. This is the foot that's raising, so we want to raise it up, and should we rotate it back? Raise it up, back. Now this is one of those cases where I think we want to zero out the foot roll. I think I want to do that here too. Now it's going to give us a wonky shape here, so we got to be careful, but I think that's going to be better overall if we can allow us to get some more into the toes. And we can probably do, ooh, that's funky. That gets really weird there. Let's see. No, maybe that's not right then. Maybe we'll just mess around with just the ball roll. Or just the foot roll. Let's see if we can add ball. See, but it doesn't go past there, and I'd like to be able to drag that toe. You know what? We'll get into that later. Let's go ahead and just get the foundation laid for this stuff. So I'm going to try and keep these videos fairly consistent with doing anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, so I don't want to get caught up on little stuff that isn't the main idea of the scene. The main idea of this scene is real simple. It's just Spider-Man wall crawling upside down. So we just want to make that as strong and as believable as we can. So adding a toe drag would be nice, and it will add extra believability and movement to that foot. But if it's going to give us an extra bunch of time, for the sake of these videos, you have to, especially at studios and everything, you have to work within a certain time frame for your shots. You know, let's say you have to do 200 frames within a week, which seems like 200 polished frames. Sorry, I was just watching that. But you have to be able to produce and get your stuff out there within the time frame that you're given and be consistent on that. So that's definitely something to work on in your animation as well, because especially when you're working in a studio environment, that's your job. Your job is to get it out and have something to look at. Otherwise, you know, even if you're the best animator in the world, if it takes you forever, you know, if you're working on your personal projects, that's one thing. But in a studio environment where you have deadlines and they have a date that they have to get their movie out by, you got to be able to produce within that time. So that's another reason why, at least personally, I'm doing more of these kind of projects, because I think it helps to keep myself consistent and working and focused at producing work in a consistent fashion. Okay. I feel like we got some of the basics here. Now let's go ahead and add some hip action here. So we'll raise it up in the passing position and down and up. And this means we're probably going to have to go in and readjust those knees as well since we're doing this, but we'll wait till the hips are fully done to go in and do that. As you can see, you know, if you've watched a couple of the other videos, having kind of a basic formula or starting point for how you do your movements is a good thing to go, because then you can apply it to different rigs, you can apply it to different scenes, all that stuff. But if you have a good workflow and a good methodology that you work, and you make sure and you hit all those key points that you need, you know, that you have the movement in the hips, that you have the movement that travels through the chest, if you have the movement that sells the contact positions on those, you know, on those steps, if you've got a good methodology for how you do arm movements and all that stuff, then when it comes to whatever the shot is, you already have a basis for what you can start out your animation with, and you can move forward from there. And then with the stuff that maybe you haven't done an elephant on a bowling ball that's circling around a toilet and going to be flushed down, but you know how going around works, and you've done that, then you start off there and you can just build on these concepts that you've already done, and you know how parenting works, and you can parent one thing to another, and then you add the rotates to one and that'll affect the other, and you can just work out from there if you have this kind of a layered method. Now again, that's kind of different from the pose to pose, where if you know exactly how the movement's going to play out, you've shot all your video reference, you've got it all down, you know the timing, you know everything, so all you have to really worry about is the posing for what you want to do, then start off with the posing. But it really depends on whatever your strengths are and whatever workflow comes more natural to you. Okay. Now we're going to save what we have, and we're going to go in here. This should just affect the... No? Should be one that's just a hit butt controller. Because this is the root, right? Now, this is the planted foot here, so we're going to favor that. And that's the planted foot, so that would be favored over there on the sway. That. And now let's go into the graph editor and we'll kind of balance those translates out a little bit. And the interesting thing you'll notice as you get into using more and more rigs is that the rigger themselves usually has a methodology for how they approach the rig, which varies. But you'll see that, like, what you know in the rigs that you're used to using is the rotate X, Y, and Z will be, usually it's the X and Z that flip-flop depending on, where in some rigs X axis might be the side to side, it might be the, like the alternate that's not up and down, it's side to side, it might be the Z, and vice versa, they can flip them a lot, so that's something you got to be aware of as well. Just going to favor whichever step is more forward. Now let's go to rotate Y. We'll balance those out. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. Still haven't figured out a name that I want to do. I was thinking just let's animate, but it seems like there's a lot of people who are doing those, even though those videos tend to be more like someone hears an audio clip on like a Twitch channel or something and then draws a little like stick figure kind of cartoon of it. That's what I've noticed, which a lot of times they're really, really funny, but this series is a lot more, well, at least I like to think it's not, you know, master classes, but it's a little more in-depth at looking at, you know, really breaking down animation rather than just a, you know, like Sunday morning cartoon kind of approach to it, but really more of an in-depth, like frame by frame and kind of process style video. So I guess I'll just call them animation times for now. I've got a couple little intros that I want to do, but I gotta get into getting some good video editing software if I want to do that kind of stuff. I'm gonna try to add like squash and stretch in here, so that's what we're doing. It's kind of funny because, like I said, with the rotate Y and Z, I feel like the root and this and the spine work differently. Like the rotate Y that's in one is the rotate Z in the other. So it's something you gotta, like I said, you gotta be aware of there. So let's see. But we want to kind of build it in so there's a little bit of, let's see if we can get it. Wait a second here. There we go. And I'm just going to grab this other one and we're just going to hide that one for now. So I want to build it so there's a little bit of squash and stretch. Let's see. So that this side will be squashed while that side's stretched. So let's see how that works. That knee looks really bad from this angle. Again, I'm not going to worry about it yet. It's going to bug me for a little while, but I want to make sure that we get the hips and the chest and everything working before we get too much into that. kind of a strange thing that's happening with this rig is it, even if you just select one, it sometimes selects, shows both. Just trying to select just the rotate Z's, and you can see that it selects both of them there. But that's okay. You can go. And we're just trying to get balance out these curves in our graph editor so they look a little more even. And we'll go back and we'll look at that again. I feel like we need to accent the rotate Z's and the hips. Because we want, let's see. Yeah, I think we did that wrong. Let's go ahead and go back in because we want to favor those. We want to make sure that the weight is over that arm and it's not too stretched. This side, which would be the lean up or lean back there. And this is one of the challenges that I think is fun with doing these videos, is not only trying to get something done and get it done fast, but you have different rigs and different approaches to work with every time, so you have to learn to adapt and adapt quickly to it. Let's try doing a little bit of rotate X up and down and up. And again, that leg is going to drive me crazy with those stretches. Those make for some ugly poses, so we got to go back in and clean that up. But we want to make sure that we get all the base information that we want to down and working first. Otherwise, we'll just be noodling back and forth. We'll get, it working with this, but maybe the hips aren't exactly where we want them, so then we'll adjust it, and then we'll go back and adjust the leg. So it's a very slippery slope if you don't have a good, straightforward process for how you work. If you kind of just work, well, I want to work on this, now I want to work on that, I want to work on this. And that might be how it turns out down the road after you've got everything working really well. And you're just kind of figuring out what you can do to polish it. I think it's way too much chest with not enough butt on that, like squash and stretch bit, or compress and everything on the chest. So we'll tone that down and we'll accentuate the hips a little more on that, because I do want a bit of compress and stretch out, but right now it's just too much on the chest and not enough on the hips. And that's one thing that you gotta be careful of and really work with and figure out a good methodology to work with too, is getting that synergy between the upper torso and the hips so that they work as a unit, either moving all together or moving opposite of each other, so that you get nice twists and everything in the torso. And especially when you're first learning like figure drawing or any of that kind of stuff, you do want to try and sell those twists in the torso and that weight and everything in the torso, and that'll help move your drawing and everything and your animation upward more. Okay. Now why is that happening here? So let's go leg twist and down. So let's see. Okay, well I just fixed a lot of those problems. It's always good, as you see now, we switched him down to, like, he's doing it on the ground, and we're, our initial idea is that he's going to be doing it hanging upside down, but it's always good to change your perspective and your angles that you're looking at stuff, so you make sure you get fresh eyes on it, and maybe you'll see something that you didn't. Like when we had it in this angle, I noticed that this knee looks really uncomfortable and unpleasant. that I didn't really see in that other angle, because it was just from one camera angle and you wouldn't really get that same perspective. So we want to make sure that we're getting a little more of a natural angle there. Okay, so let's watch those legs now. Now I like this one better than that one, so let's see. If you guys haven't seen it, there's a really entertaining, I think it was Spider-Woman drawing that was pretty much panned over the internet for anatomy and everything. I was just thinking of that for a second. I'll have to see if I can find a video. If you guys can't find it, message me and I'll send you a picture to it. But it's the front cover of Spider-Woman or Woman Spider or however many spin-offs they decided to come up with. But the posing is very, very it feels like the anatomical structure isn't as solid as it could be, basically. Okay. Again, I think we addressed earlier that we wanted to fix so that the neck wasn't feeling so stretched out there. So maybe we'll go ahead and push the chest in there, and then we can go into the neck controller and rotate that down a little bit, and maybe a little more on the head, just so that. Okay, now let's turn on that and see how that looks. Okay, go ahead and save off what we have. Now let's get into doing some drag on the hands, maybe. So we'll rotate those. Oh, X isn't right. Let's see if they got Y. Let's see if it's a Z. Rotate. It is. Which means we'll have to translate it up so that it doesn't intersect. Rotate it down in Z. Translate it up. But see, the good thing about getting the hips working first is then you can go in, and you don't really have to go back in too much and do that unless you really want to play it up. But now that we've got it working pretty well. But by doing that, we added a bit of drag back on the wrists before they. And another thing I would probably want to do, but I think we'll do that into the fingers instead of into the wrist itself. And I think I want to raise that movement upward a little bit more. So let's go into the translate Y's on the wrist in the graph editor, and we'll just crank those guys up. So that way it really feels like it's lifting off of there. And then I feel like the translate Z isn't quite as good as it could be as well, and that's like the side-to-side movement, especially on this last one. It felt like it was almost up and down rather than having a nice arc with it, so we'll probably need to move that forward a little bit more. No? Delete the translate X. It's a mix of Z and X. That's not really good. Usually I like to keep those a little more uniform, but that's okay. Different rigs, so we'll learn as we go. Now, in order to address that, we'll want to do something like that, and just just kind of fixing graph editor so it looks a little better. See if we can get a better sense of movement in that forward wrist. That feels better. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save off what we have. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the other wrist. And I like swinging around rather than trying to keep it in that same viewport that we have before there. So that way we can make sure we're looking at everything we need to here. Raise that up. And I believe it's rotate Z on this one. Might be a little too high on the raise up. Ooh, what was that? That was weird. Look at how that looks. That's no good. It's really deformed there. Let's see if we can clean that up a little bit more. I think it's probably... Just look how that deforms right there. I do not like that. I think it's kind of a limitation with the rig though, but I don't know if that's a cop-out or not. It just feels like it doesn't bend as accurately as it could. We got some weird things in the knees here too, so I think we just have to be careful that not to deform it too much, so that it doesn't look too awkward. But we want to get, you know, our sense of movement and our sense of realism to it. But within that, you have to be careful with rigs too, that you don't try and get such fluid animation that the polygons itself, that the mesh base below gets too deformed. Okay. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this in the graph editor and see what we can clean up here. And translate Z, and I think it was translate X that were both keyed, so we'll go ahead and pull those back. Kind of ease into it. Make sure that we're getting a nice curve there. And again, this is not how I would normally approach a scene, by having a left to right movement affect two different translate that should really be on one. So I'm not sure if that's something that I'm miskeyed there, or if that's something that this rig is prone to do or something. It just seems a little off. Okay, let's go ahead and watch this hand now. I think we need to raise it up a little bit more and drag it back a little bit more as well. We gotta be aware that that's gonna create that, like, looks almost like so the Pillsbury Doughboy arms or whatever. I don't like that as much, but okay, let's go ahead and save what we have now. Let's try and see if we can do some drag in the fingers here. So I'll set our key on 1 and 12 and 26 and then 18. We're going to grab all the, actually let's just grab everything and we'll offset it in the graph editor. Oh. Weird. Kind of has a natural cupping when you do it that way. Wonder if that was because okay. Let's go ahead and just do it this way to begin with. Bend the mids in. Bend those tips in. Take what we have at 26 and move it to 24, but we'll go ahead and So there's a little bit of like recoil and slap down on those fingers. And then we'll get the other side working, and then we'll offset some frames here. Mids, and we'll bend those in, and tips. And raise it up a little bit. It seems like the pinky finger and the index finger kind of bend at different value rates than the middle and ring finger as well. Okay, I'm going to save off what we have, and now let's go ahead and grab all of the index 2 or ring 2 or pinky 2s and 3s, which should be like the knuckle and the tip, and we'll delay those a frame, and then we'll grab all of just the tips and we'll delay those a frame, and then we'll grab all of the index and we'll move it forward a frame, and we'll grab all of the pinky and we'll drag it back a frame. Let's see if that gives us enough. Okay, now let's kind of frame through it and make sure we're not getting too much intersection. See, that index finger needs to not do that. So go back into the index and we'll give it one more frame so that it's not doing that. Actually, we might do two. And then we got some intersection there, so we got to look out for that. And then we'll do what? Is it 2 frames? You're posing, even if your timing is better. If the posing looks weird, that finger did a weird thing there. Okay, let's watch that and see if that feels. Okay, so let's take the ring and the pinky. Sorry about that. Cat just fell down. Ah, 1 second here. Sorry about that. Had a little animal accident, but everyone's okay. It's gonna probably look funny on video though, I'm sure. And I think that's part of the fun of doing stuff live though. You never know what's gonna happen. So anyways, we're going back and we were fixing the index and ring and pinky here. I think we'll just go into these two and we'll shorten them. So we're just trying to get okay, let's try watching that now. And the other thing we can do is just raise this up just a little bit more and then translate Y. And it's okay if it like scuffs a little bit along there. It kind of adds a little bit of like flip to it as well. Okay, go ahead and save that off. And the other thing I wanted to do was kind of drag the thumb a little bit, but I think we'll go to the other hand real quick. Mids here, we'll bend those in. And take all of those and we'll stretch them out a little bit. And a little bit more on the mids. And on the tips of the finger. So overall, I think this rig's a lot more accessible than that creeper rig that we were messing around with yesterday. That one was you know, pretty fun in concept and idea, but as far as implementation of that rig, I felt like there was a lot that could be done to really beef it up. Where this one feels like there's some minor things and some definite, because this is more of a like realistic rig with some musculature and everything. There really have to be some better deformers and everything that could get in here to really be able to get some more exciting and varied posing in it. But I think it's if you're not messing with the posing too much, you could definitely get some pretty basic animation out of this rig without too much of a struggle. So definitely, like I said, I will leave notes in the comments below for how to grab this rig if you guys want to try it out. And if you do, definitely you know, let me know if you got some cool animations out of it, and I'm happy to share it or give you some feedback or anything on your channel, or we can link up together too. Not a problem. And there was another Spider-Man rig on Creative Crash. There were actually two, and this one was a little bit lighter, which I like to try to use not too heavy of rigs on there, so that the animation can still stream pretty, you know, give you every frame and it's not too laggy on that end. And the other one looked like it might have had a little more ability to animate a little more fluidly, but unfortunately it wasn't. It didn't seem like it was functioning correctly as far as the manipulators and controllers working with the object, so they were just not matching up together. So that's one thing to keep in consideration. I'm sure if I spent, you know, 15, 20, 30 minutes tinkering with it and got it all to parent correctly and use those deformers, that rig might be better. But as far as something that we could open up and get into and try out right away, this seemed to be the way to go. Like I said, I definitely am liking this rig. It's fun to play around with it. There are a couple things I do differently, but if I was a rigger, or if this was a studio that I'd ask somebody to rig it a little bit differently. Let's separate that stuff a little bit more. Just gonna offset a couple of these frames here and grab the tips of the fingers and just delay them a little bit. faces up a little bit more on this, so we can hopefully avoid the intersection that we have there. Okay, we'll go ahead and save off what we have now. Let's see if we can add a little bit of head animation in there. A little bit on the neck, maybe. So we'll rotate there, back to that way, back to that way, back to that way, and then back again. See if there's just a little sway to the head there. We'll do a little bit in the head itself. Okay, let's try watching that now. And even do a little bit on the chin, we could do. And then we'll probably offset those a couple of frames and see if that gives us a little bit of a drag and everything through there. A little bit of change of shape and everything there. So we'll go ahead and grab that chin controller and the head controller and delay them a frame, and the chin we'll go ahead and delay one more frame after that, and that should give us a little bit of sway and everything in there. And again, we're probably going from something like this view when we work, so it's not something we have to do a ton of, but a little bit. Just to give it a little more life. I think we could probably play up the up and down a little bit more in those hips, which means we'll probably have to go back into the knees, but I want to get a little bit of toe variation if we can as well, because those heels are feeling very static. Maybe a little bit more side to side, so a little more translate X. Okay, let's see how we're doing there. Now let's turn on the texture there and see what it looks like. Alright, we got some Spider-Man action there. Okay, I'll go ahead and go back, save what we have here, and let's see if we can get a little bit of change of shape here. So locks there on that last foot roll, so let's see if we can do something a little more like that. I feel like it felt like it just kicked and it didn't hit anymore. At least we get a little more change of shape in there. I would wish there was a actual toe controller, but it doesn't feel like there is. There's just a I mean, there is, but it does the whole foot, doesn't it? Oh, we can actually do something like that. I guess it wouldn't completely. And then we could do that and that. Yeah, that would be okay. It means we have to raise the foot up, though, a bit more. But then we get at least a little bit of, like, contact slash. Nice. thinking we're going to have some intersection. Okay, so let's go into that ball roll. We'll give ourselves another frame before that. And we won't do this extreme. Tone it down a little bit more. Let's see how we can. That feels pretty good, except for the fact that it's intersecting through there. So, but one way to fix that is we'll just raise the translate Y up a little bit, and that should help. I would think a little more squash and stretch between the two sides of the chest too. I don't feel like there's enough between like the left and right sides. But let's go ahead and finish the other, get that working on the other foot before we go too far. I keep going to this as the controller, but it's actually this. This is just seems to be switch it from IK to FK and vice versa. Yeah, it looks like it just has a spot where it locks in the foot roll there. That's okay, we'll just go into the graph editor and kind of find a balance. Okay, so let's lower those down a little bit. That's it's going to be a little more than that. And raise these other guys up a little bit more. Okay, let's try that. Okay, go ahead and save that. And flatten that out. Raise it up. And flop it down. Set that. Drag it back. Flop it up. Okay. Now let's get into there. We'll short that down. Erase that. Okay. Let's see how that looks. Okay, now we gotta make sure that we get rid of that intersection by raising that foot back up again. So we want to take those translate Y's and kick them up a bit. Save what we have here, and let's see if we can't play up the rotate C over here. I think it's the rotate Y on the chest controllers, which is again strange that they would have it on the rotate C versus the rotate Y, but that's okay. Watch it and see if that gives us enough. It's a little more of that squash and stretch side to side. Let's go ahead. It's always good to change your angle and everything too to make sure things are working. For those of you watching, probably more exciting to see it this way. Let's see. the other reason that it's good to turn that stuff off, and again that's 5 versus 6 on your keypad if you're working in Maya, is because that stuff can get a little distracting and you really want to focus on the animation and then throw all the extras on later. Just like when you're in your workflows, you want to focus on the hips and the chest a lot and then add the extras with the legs and the arms and the heads and all that stuff. But you want your base movement to really be to sell that first, and then once that's working, then you can add all the doodads and the excess flair and everything too. Okay, now let's see if we can get just kind of a butt controller to work that will work independently. Yeah, see? That's what I was looking for. So we can add a little more delay in the butt, just to vary it a little bit. And I just want to do a little bit on this, not a ton. And then maybe we'll go into the thumbs, and then once that's working, I think this will be a good little experiment with this rig. And again, I will link it in the information below, so if you're looking for it, or if you didn't hear me before, the information will be down there, along with the program that I'm using, and a couple, I usually link up to a couple of the really good starting books for animation that I like, the animation Bibles. So go ahead and definitely give those a read. And again, I don't make any commission on any of that stuff. The only thing I do is, you know, if you like what I'm doing and you think it's worthwhile, share it with some people, subscribe to the channel, and give me some thumbs up. And that'll definitely help me out. Otherwise, if you really are interested, I do have a donate button on my site, which can be found in the information below. If you feel so inclined, you're more than welcome to as well. But I just hope that you guys like these and are learning something and growing every day while you're watching them, and challenging yourself to do a little more every day so that you can eventually get to the goals that you want in your life. And if they're animation or creative, I hope this is helping you. Give you some extra stuff to think about or try out or experiment with. And let's add a little bounce to it too. So a little bit of drag on the butt, raise up, drag, raise up. And see, we don't want to do too much because this one seems like it can deform pretty easily. Look at that, that's no good. So we want to be mindful of that as well. So if this idea doesn't work, we can always delete it. I think it's a good thing to add to the animation that would add a little bit more, both in timing and delay and overlap, and in just the illusion of life. But if it breaks that by breaking the rig too much, then that's not going to help with the appeal of the scene. Okay, and then you're just going to grab everything, and I'm going to go ahead and delay all of that one frame and see how that works, just to add a little bit of, so it feels like the head's leading a little bit more. Okay, with that being said, I think, oh, I did want to do the thumbs, so let's go ahead and save our work here, and let's go ahead and, just because those are too static here, so it should be 12. And again, it's always good to, you know, change your camera angles too, so that way you can see. But you see that thumb's not doing anything throughout the whole shot. What a lame thumb. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're gonna grab the thumb and we're gonna key everything on 12 and 26 and 36 and 48. Just gotta thumbs in different character rigs. I don't know. There's not a lot of the rigs that I really like the thumb in them. They always tend to looking to get a good natural pose. Since the thumb is so different from the rest of the hand, they don't usually bend in the right places, so you have to be kind of careful with the posing on those. Lift it up. Just a little bit of overlap there. Not a whole ton, but just something to keep it alive, keep it moving so that it doesn't lock off there. That's no good. It'll get rid of, there's nobody who can keep their thumb in exactly the same movement while they're doing something like this. That would break the illusion that it was something that could, is realistic. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we're just going to grab the thumb here, and we're going to key selected, and key selected again at 14, then again at 24, and again at 38. And we'll go in, and we'll get a couple better thumb poses there. That's fine. It's actually better than, I like that, the way that this thumb moves. It gives you a few more options, and it feels a little more realistic than the Goon Rig thumb. Still, I think the Animation Mentor, which is the Stewart Rig, is probably my favorite for what you can get out of the hands, but it only has 3 fingers. Is that right? Thumb and 3 fingers, I believe. Yeah. And I like 4 fingers, a bit more natural that way. So that's one thing, but that rig isn't available to everyone, and I'm trying to focus on free rigs that anyone could just grab, and as long as they have, and I think Maya even has just like educational versions of all of its programs that you can sign up for. So anyone could go in and try this stuff, so I try to keep it at the fairly basic level while everyone's learning, and it's probably like a level 2 if this was a game level, because it's not beginner animation, but I try not to do too much over the top so that anyone who's watching this video could technically recreate what I'm doing here. I try to make sure that it's that way so I can share what I know and grow as an artist and creator myself, but also help you guys as you're starting out to understand some concepts, and I try to do it in a way that would be helpful to me, that I don't think a lot of people introduced them in the same way that I did. And again, if you're looking and you're just beginning out, I do have those videos for the 12 principles of animation. You can check them out on my channel. But I think we're going to call it a walk for today, or animation time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do, remember to throw me some thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share the video with anyone you want. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below, or you can follow me on Twitter at CaseyTurbos. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys are still pushing yourselves every day to try new things. Oh, let's see what it looks like without the controllers. Let's do that real quick, so we can see if that looks still pretty cool without that. Yeah, not too bad. For an hour, probably an hour and a half, now I'm thinking about it, of working with this rig that we never worked with before. Only thing I'm seeing now is that first, and this is the thing with animation, the more you watch it, the more you see. This first move on that hand feels a little too quick for some reason. Maybe it's just, hey, it's alright. I think we'll keep it. But I'd probably go back in and change it. I might. We'll see. Alright. Thanks again, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful and awesome day. Thank you for watching. We will see you. Wait, did I pause it? No, it's still recording. Okay. We'll see you. Yeah, you. And you. And anyone else over there who wants to watch and who likes these videos tomorrow. Have a great day.